Always trust.
International justice, the idea that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law, that presidents and military leaders who carry out atrocities can be held accountable. It's one of the most ambitious promises of the post-World War II order. But what happens when those accused of violating international law are backed by the world's most powerful countries? Or when the court itself comes under attack? Fatou Bensouda knows that reality firsthand. As chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, she pursued investigations in Afghanistan, Libya, Myanmar, and the occupied Palestinian territories. Investigations that placed her on a collision course with global powers. The US sanctioned her. Israel reportedly subjected her and her family to surveillance, pressure campaigns, and intimidation. And behind the scenes, efforts intensified to stop the ICC from moving forward with its investigations. The bigger picture shows a court fighting for credibility, a court accused of selective justice, and a court struggling to survive. I'm Fatou at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. In more than 2 decades, the ICC has convicted only a handful of individuals, all African militia and local leaders, while figures like Vladimir Putin, Omar al-Bashir, and Benjamin Netanyahu appear to be beyond its reach. So if the powerful are above the law, was the promise of international justice ever real? Fatou Bensouda, former chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, talks to Al Jazeera. Ambassador Fatou Bensouda, the former chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court and currently Gambia's High Commissioner to the UK, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've worked 17 years for the International Criminal Court, 8 years as the deputy prosecutor and 9 years as the chief prosecutor.
Indeed.
You had experiences like intimidation, you had pressure, and you had real threats against you because of your work.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what kind of threats you received and by who?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. But I also want to just highlight that with the work that the ICC is doing, which is investigating war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression, the very nature of that work sort of triggers pushback against the court. And this is what we have seen and we have faced from the time the court started until now.
So in 2015, you opened the Palestine case. You opened an examination, right? And then real threats against you and your family started.
Yes.
Can you explain what kind of threats and who did that?
Initially, it was very subtle. I had, for instance, a visit from some people, some guys whom I never knew.
You didn't know where they were from?
I didn't know where they were from. And they came directly to my house.
Here in The Hague?
Here in The Hague, when I was still living here. They came directly to my house. It was 2 of them. And the car was parked, not next to my house. Fortunately, the driver I had at the time had the sense of just taking the number plate. And I was... they sought to see me. I think they insisted a little, and I came out eventually. I saw them. They did not come into the house, but they were standing there, and they gave me an envelope of, I think, $500. And
they said something?
They said, yeah, they said something that they were bringing this because it's from a friend or someone whom I have helped. I said to myself, and the assessment that was later made, was to show me that they know where I live.
Yeah.
That was the purpose.
Yeah.
Because I think if it was an attempt to bribe me, they would at least do it in a better way.
Yeah.
So I got the message that they're sending.
And who was sending it?
Well, at the time, what I had to do was I received the envelope. I took it to the ICC security, I took it to the registrar and reported the incident and gave, of course, gave him back the $500 I was given and described the situation and also submitted the number plate that was given. As far as I know, at the time, the car was rented that morning from the airport, I think. So I believe these people were coming from outside. And
but was it ever established where they were from?
The only thing that could be established was that the telephone numbers they submitted at the time was from Israel.
From Israel?
Yes, from Israel. That was, but I do not think the Dutch authorities did more. More was not done to really find out.
No investigation?
No investigations, as far as I know.
And how did you feel about that?
Of course, I felt very, not intimidated, but of course I felt insecure.
Yeah, so that was the first attempt by Israel to persuade you to stop the investigation.
That I know of, because I do know that there was an incident before of someone was caught near the house taking photos. At the time, there was the situation in Palestine, but there was also the situation in Afghanistan, you know, in which I had also requested the investigations
against the U.S. military, for war crimes.
Indeed, indeed. So, and the cases of, for instance, the Kenya cases and Cote d'Ivoire cases had not gone away. It was still there.
So it could have been anyone.
It could have been anyone. To be fair.
But this was the first clear Israeli attempt.
Yes.
So then after that you actually met the then head of Mossad, Yossi Cohen.
Yes, indeed.
First in Munich, I understand, right? And then also in a very strange situation in a hotel in New York.
In New York, yes.
Can you say what happened?
Well, you know, what we normally do, or what I normally used to do is when I'm investigating in any situation, together with my team, especially the cooperation division, we try to meet the authorities at the highest level and request for cooperation. So it becomes easier when you go down. Once they see that the high level is committed. So I used to meet heads of state, I used to meet heads of government about investigations. And in this particular case, I was meeting a head of state in a hotel.
Kabila.
Yes, in a hotel in New York. This was within the margins of the UN General Assembly. So I went there for that meeting, and I was with another staff of mine. Usually, always, I have a staff assisting me in these meetings. And then Kabila said at the time that they wanted to meet, somebody wanted to meet with me. And the person comes out of somewhere. And
And who was it?
It was the head of Mossad at the time, Yossi Cohen.
What did he say?
Well, it was to deal with the investigations in Palestine. To deal with the investigations. I don't think I can go into all the details, but it really concerned the investigations of the situation in Palestine.
He made that clear.
Yes, of course.
Did he say, you should help us and let us take care of you? You don't want to be getting into things that could compromise your security or that of your family?
What I could gather from the various meetings that we have had, because apart from that, there were subsequent meetings as well. And what was clear was that they did not want the investigations into the situation in Palestine to go on. That's the bottom line.
That's what he said very clearly. Stop it.
That was it. That I needed to stop. I didn't have to go along with that investigations. And for me, of course, it's about my work. It's about the fact that I have taken an oath that I will do my work without fear or favor, and this is what I was doing. And all
you told him that?
Yes, all the time in all the meetings. This is my explanation that I was doing my job. I'm not targeting anyone. Yeah.
And these threats that I just read to you.
Yes.
He said this.
He did. He did sometimes, I think initially not so clearly. Initially not so clearly, but in the end, of course, you know that it is stopped the investigations. First time, very friendly, very nice. I think there was an attempt to win me over. But then eventually, it's like, look, you really need to stop this. I think we have talked about this for a few times. And yes, they just wanted me to stop the investigations.
And you also perceived it as a threat to you personally and to your family.
Of course, of course. And I also know that it had a lot to do with the eventual sanctions that I received. You know, as the first person to be sanctioned at the ICC.
Yeah, that happened in 2020. You got, you were the first person to get under U.S. sanctions, very strict sanctions. But I want to get to that in a minute, because I want to know how these threats to you and to your family, how did you respond to that?
Initially, I would say that I did not, I tried to keep it as quiet as possible, only reporting back to the security at the ICC, but also informing the Dutch authorities at the time.
You did?
But yes. But I tried very much to keep it away from the staff, the general staff, because I did not want to create panic, you know, amongst the staff that this is what is happening. Because, okay, I know that all of the staff, or most of the staff that come to the ICC to work, they come with great commitment. They also want to make a difference. You know, they are committed to these investigations, which are not easy, investigating and prosecuting this kind of crimes. So they come with that commitment. And for me to expose the fact that I was going through this, I thought, in my assessment, would have a negative impact on staff and would eventually affect our work. But when it came to support from the Dutch government, I'm not aware of anything extra that was done to support me at the time.
So nobody talked from the Dutch government to the Israeli ambassador or the government there, like...
I'm not aware of that.
We need to take responsibility here because of the ICC is in The Hague, so we are the ones in charge. But they
I'm not aware of that. Even though I have reported, even personally, I went to the authorities to report that this is what is happening, and of course expected more support. But this was not, at least as far as I know. Maybe something was happening in the background that I'm not aware of, but as far as I know, nothing extra was done at the time. Also, there are some even authorities that appealed to me that, you know, you really need to stop. This is going very, very far, and it could, you know, you could be harmed, or you could be killed, or family members could be harmed in some way. But for me, it was out of the question. It was out of the question.
It was a risk you were willing to take.
It was a risk I was willing to take. There was, of course, a lot of rhetoric. There was a lot of verbal support, but you could not find, you know, the state parties coming together and finding ways to ensure that I'm protected.
And why is that?
I, as prosecutor.
Why is it? Because it's Israel?
I have, you know, if I say why is that, I'm speaking for them. And I don't know the reason why. What I do know is that they have a responsibility. As state parties who establish the ICC, they have a responsibility to protect the court, to insulate the court from attacks, but also to make sure that the personnel of the court, like the prosecutor, the judges, and all staff of the court are protected and feel protected. This is a responsibility that I believe the state parties have to work on more than they are doing at the moment, especially during my time. I know there were a lot of meetings, there was a lot of talk, but I felt that really justice, you know, and those who are trying to do justice, that it is being sacrificed at the altar of political interest.
In 2019, you really announced the investigation in the Palestine case.
Yes.
You had enough evidence
Yes.
to look for these war crimes that Israel has been committed or was accused of.
Yes.
Then you were put under sanctions pretty soon after by the United States.
Indeed.
Really stiff sanctions. Can you explain to me how that impacted your life?
It did. It did impact my life because people just think that when you're sanctioned, especially with the court, that you can no longer go to the U.S. But it goes far beyond that. For instance, your bank account, if you have one, will be blocked. Mm-hmm. At the time, I had my account with the UNFCU, is the UN Federal Credit Union, which I had opened when I was working at the UN ICTR in Rwanda. So this was immediately blocked. Mm-hmm. And simple transactions like booking a hotel, you cannot do that. Transferring to member states, you cannot do that.
Were you still paid by the ICC?
Well, I mean, I will come to that because even here, the banks in the Netherlands also had to comply. But I know at that time that the ICC, the registrar, working with the Dutch authorities, they were able to at least get the banks to accept to pay receive my salary and to pay it. At the time, one of the bank that works with the ICC. And, but there were other banks where, for instance, I had my mortgage that completely closed down. So in that way, it affects your personal life because simple things that you take for granted that I can,
So how did you do that? How did you go around?
I had to find other ways to do it. Eventually, a Dutch bank was able to assist, and we were able to at least do these simple transactions, but also even with limitations, because there are some transactions, depending on the corresponding bank in between, that you cannot do. Like if you attempt to make a transfer to a family member, for instance, if it has to go to a corresponding bank before it gets there, that corresponding bank will refuse the transaction. So it was very, very difficult, just doing these simple things. And also, I remember at the time, my son, who lives in the Gambia, had his account also was blocked. I also remember that there was a lot of efforts on investigating my husband, who was living with me, to find if there is anything that could be made against.
Yeah, they made photographs and audio recordings of your husband?
Yes.
About what?
Yeah. They just wanted, I think they just wanted to find out if he is into anything illegal. So all of that was made, and I also think it had to do with the sanctions that were going to be made by the U.S.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a difficult time. That's what I can say.
Yeah, because now at the moment we have 11 judges and prosecutors from the ICC also under U.S. sanctions.
Yes.
But at that time it was even more strict than now. But still, I mean, this is also hampering their daily lives. Of course,
it will affect, and it has affected.
How much did it impact the work of the ICC? All of this, the threats, the sanctions. I mean, you can't possibly think that this is still not having any impact on the actual work.
Yeah, no, it does have impact. For instance, there are so many things, unfortunately, that perhaps the office is still doing, which I am not able to talk about.
But the current cases, you mean?
Yes, current cases, but also the measures that we took to ensure that our works goes on, that we are not stopped completely. But again, I'm also saying that it is the responsibility of the states to come together and talk to one another and look for a way, look for a structure that can be put in place, which can act as soon as these attacks happen. We cannot be, as state parties, we cannot sit to wait for something to happen and then we start scrambling to see what can be done. And we don't also speak with the same voice, because there are some states that will definitely not help. And they will actually tell you that they cannot help for many reasons, mainly political, of course. So there will be those states, but I think the fact that today we have 125 states, parties to the ICC, they have to get together It's now long overdue.
But isn't that an illusion at the moment? If we look at, you know, the Trump government is really going against the ICC. Israel is doing everything it can to stop this case.
Yes.
The geopolitical situation at the moment is totally not in favor of international justice, it seems.
Yes, it is not at the moment. And there are so many negatives. But this is why we even have to work harder. We have to work harder to ensure that the court is supported. We have to ensure that the court does not disintegrate and fade away. Because this is what those who are attacking the court...
Are you worried this can happen?
I am, but not really, because I'm a strong believer in justice, in international justice. I know that there will be the highs and the lows. I know there will be the attacks. I know that there will be attempts to make the court disintegrate and fade away, but I know that there are still people, you know, and there are institutions, and there are countries that want to see
increasingly less, right? Less countries who are supporting.
Still, even if there is less, as I said, there will be highs and lows. You know, these countries can be supported by others, and I do believe that this is what is going to happen. The ICC, I believe, will survive. It not only survive, but it
as
will,
an independent institution for international justice for any country.
Yes. For all, I started by saying that the court is a system. You know, it's just not an institution standing independently of anything. It's a system that states have to take up their responsibility. They set up this court. They set up the ICC. And they have to take this responsibility of ensuring that the ICC is protected by doing what they are supposed to do legally. You know, and I mentioned this. When you're part of the court, when you sign the Rome Statute, you ratify the Rome Statute, you undertake, you know, to ensure that the court works.
Yeah, but in reality, it's a different story.
It is a different story.
We have at the moment your successor, Karim Khan, chief prosecutor at the moment, has issued arrest warrants against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his former defense minister Gallant, and the 3 Hamas leaders who already have been killed by Israel. So far, none of them have been arrested.
This is nothing new for the ICC. Arrest warrants have been issued before. What is important here to say is that my successor did his work, you know, did what he was supposed to do, investigated these crimes and have issued the warrants. This has happened before at the ICC. You remember we had the case of al-Bashir.
Yeah, who is still on the run.
Who's still not arrested. But you have had similar cases also at the ICTY.
But isn't that frustrating for you as a prosecutor?
It can be frustrating, but it doesn't mean give up.
But it shows also a double standard in the sense that the convictions we've seen so far, I think, are 7 African, mostly militia leaders who have now been convicted for war crimes and crimes against humanity. In the 24-year existence of the ICC. Some people say this is a very small result. And then if you look at the leaders in Israel, you look at Vladimir Putin, who also has an arrest warrant, they say it's a double standard. It's only affecting people in Africa for some reason and not people from, with connections to the United States and Israel.
Yeah, you're talking about what they call the Africa bias. And I believe that this was a way of also attacking the court and the credibility of the court. People always forget that ICC did not go to Africa to start investigating. It was Africa that came to the ICC. All these cases, all of them were referred, or most of them were referred to the ICC by these African states. And ICC did its responsibility because those African states who asked the court to intervene are part of the court. And if they feel that if they see that they are not in a position to investigate and prosecute these crimes, their responsibility was to ask the ICC to investigate.
I understand, but you were the prosecutor taking it beyond Africa, right? You were the one going for the Afghanistan case. You went for the Palestine case. So you took it further, you expanded.
No, but I'm just trying to explain that it's not a question of just target one jurisdiction and go there. And when that jurisdiction starts shouting, you go to another place. No. It's always a matter of the evidence.
You think eventually Benjamin Netanyahu will be brought here to The Hague?
This is at least what the ICC wants to see. It is what international justice wants to see. If the investigations have been made and crimes have been alleged to have been committed, and this person needs to be brought before the ICC, whoever it is, whoever, that person needs to be brought before the ICC.
You're still hopeful?
I'm always hopeful.
You're also here to basically also make a plea to the Dutch government, who is, you know, the country where the ICC is based, to do more to protect the ICC. And also the intelligence services here in the Netherlands have actually warned that the ICC needs extra protection in their yearly report. What should the Dutch government do specifically to protect the ICC?
I can say that I felt left alone, I felt unsupported, and I do think that there is, the government should look for ways in which they can protect more the officials of the court. And the officials, by that I mean the staff of the court. In the end, they are the host state of the ICC, and the protection that the court needs starts with the host state where the court is located. So this is something I believe that they can enhance more. It's not only about the building. I know that there is some security of sorts about the building, but you also have those who are making the cases work. The people. Those who are the people, they matter more. And this is the protection that I feel is lacking. I personally experienced it, and I could talk about that to the extent that there were some authority in the, I think it was in the opposition, that was also calling for my deportation and for my arrest and all kinds of
opposition?
things. Dutch opposition. That said, especially when the Israeli case, the Palestinian case started.
Looking back at all of this and all your years here at the ICC, was it all worth it?
Always. We have to work together to ensure that those who are causing these crimes, alleged to be causing these crimes, are brought to justice. It is critically important for us, you know, going forward. So I don't think that one should ever think that it is useless, that one should ever think that it is irrelevant, or that one should ever think that because there is this pushback, there is this attack, then we should finally just close shop and leave. There are people who need this justice. There are people who have lost complete hope in what is happening in their domestic jurisdictions, and they look up to the court as a beacon of hope. No, we cannot let them down.
Ambassador Fatou Bensouda, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.